quarantine upon arrival to the BVI.
Royal Virgin Islands Police Force officers prohibited from traveling and vacationing outside of the territory amidst COVID-19 pandemic.
A look at Puerto Rico amidst the coronavirus outbreak.
Jury trials locally being temporarily halted and discussions on cyberbullying coming up. All this and more when 284 News returns.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
When you need to stay connected with friends and families at home or abroad, the best choice for you is Freedom. CCT Freedom. With the lowest rates in the market, our Freedom plan gives you unlimited calls and texting. Plus, our Freedom One package includes 10 gigabits of super fast, unlimited LTE data and unlimited calls to the BVI, USA, USVI, Canada, Puerto Rico, and UK lines. Why pay for overages when you can enjoy CCT Freedom? Stop by at one of our stores today and speak with one of our representatives to find out more about our CCT Freedom packages.
Welcome everybody. It's Friday, March 20th. I'm sorry, not Friday.
It's not
we
Friday
are
yet,
Tuesday.
Ron.
Not
Yeah.
yet. We're getting there though.
We're getting there.
Lots going on in the beautiful British Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant.
And I'm Kyla Kenesha Forbes. Another beautiful
Yes,
day in the
indeed.
British Virgin Islands.
Now, Kyla, CCT and YEP are doing some fascinating things
Yeah.
in wake of the COVID-19. Tell us all about it.
So we have the Homework Hotline. I really like the ring to that.
Yeah.
But basically, it's in partnership with YEP. We all know YEP out of Fat Hogs Bay, a homework and after-school program.
Yes.
But of course, in the wake of all that's happening, had to shut down. But they're finding a smart and innovative
intelligent
way
way.
to help students and parents from distant learning. So we have the Homework Hotline, so you can call them or they can call you, and you can reach them at 441-2804 or 441-2805. And of course, this was sponsored by CCT.
Awesome.
You can find them through Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you have any questions, if you need some help, Ron, as a
Homework.
teacher, I'm
Yes.
sure you know.
This is a great tool.
Sometimes parents don't really know
they don't
what's
get it
going
too,
on. Yeah, so we have them over there. Yep,
Wonderful.
so give them a call.
Awesome. And Mr. Stacy Mathar, the coordinator and head of YEP, in a statement said, in this time of uncertainty, YEP remains committed to engaging youth in the BVI. This hotline will offer our youth a connection to our caring staff as well as assist them with their take-home assignments. We are grateful for CCT and their continued support of YEP. Wonderful work going on right here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on to our first story. While the world struggles to get a grip of the coronavirus pandemic that is affecting the globe, members of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force have been forbidden from taking vacation leave outside of the British Virgin Islands. While speaking and addressing law and order concerns alongside Governor of the Virgin Islands, Augustus J.U. Jaspert, Deputy Police Commissioner Alwyn James gave such indication. He said, and I quote, "We have to make some difficult decisions. One of them was, for instance, to cancel or suspend leave outside of the territory. Officers are not able to travel outside of the territory because we want to ensure that we have the sort of resilience given a situation where the virus spreads at a very rapid rate in the territory. Of course, if officers need rest and relax on island, we are still open to consider that to ensure their welfare." Now, on the issue of Border Patrol, which has been a long-standing concern for Virgin Islanders and residents in this crisis, James reassured that all measures are being exhausted to protect the territory of the Virgin Islands. With the territory's air and seaports presently closed to international traffic, he said the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force will also be ramping up its border patrols in collaboration with Her Majesty's Customs. James said, and I quote, "We are deploying our marine assets and resources to protect our borders, especially in these vulnerable areas that we have identified. However, some questions that were not addressed in the press conference by the Governor and the Deputy Police Commissioner include, where specifically are the most vulnerable areas for Border Patrol in the territory? What should persons living in those areas be cognizant of? What can persons do to increase their security during these times, whether businesses or residents? Should we be concerned or expect an increase in petty crimes, robberies, and looting, as was the case in the territory amidst vulnerable times like the hurricanes of 2017? And how can businesses protect themselves? Kyla, these are some burning questions. In the meantime, James said the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force numbers and their capabilities increase, so persons can expect them to be more vigilant. He said, and I quote, "We are at a point where we just about to complete a training of some additional firearm officers to have greater capacities, and we are going to put up more high visibility patrols. We are going to keep the business community informed, especially within the hours when their businesses close at 8 p.m. and remain closed until 6 a.m., he noted. Additionally, he said, we've got some officers who are just going to be graduating this week, more or less out of training. So we are going to increase the numbers as it relates to our district situations and stations to ensure that we have more resources out there. We have about 80 trained public order and public order commands, so we are in a much better position." So Kyla, on a very positive note, we see the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force alongside Governor of the Virgin Islands, Mr. Augustus Jasper, taking a proactive approach to make sure that the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is being strengthened with trained officers as well as equipped with the necessary tools to protect the people of the Virgin Islands. A lot of questions still plaguing and a lot of residents are still concerned with some of the points that we just raised, but we will continue to keep you guys informed. It's a tall order and we expect nothing but their highest of service from our local officers.
Most definitely. Ron, in that story, you spoke a little bit about Border Patrol, and
Yes.
I'm glad that we're thinking ahead as we close our borders. We will see persons trying to get in.
Of course.
You never know.
Yeah.
But then also, too, a great question that you asked, the level of petty crime during this time. You know, during vulnerable times, people are basically in survival mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
In other parts of the world, we're seeing looting, we're seeing a lot of petty crimes, and the BVI is no different.
Absolutely.
Right now,
Very vulnerable.
thankfully, we are in a good space, and we have not had a confirmed case as yet.
Yes.
But we have seen some hysteria as it pertains to the supermarkets, and we've seen this level of intensity
Absolutely.
in the BVI. So all great questions.
Indeed. Well,
Most
ladies and
definitely.
gentlemen, still ahead, jury trials temporarily halted. What will this do to the Virgin Islands judicial system and self-quarantine and reporting non-compliance? You have the questions, and of course, we have the answers. All this and more after a word from our sponsors.
How may I assist you? Yes. You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. And as you rightfully said, Ron, you have the questions and we have the answers. So now, Ron, let's do a little bit of role play.
Okay.
So let's just imagine for a minute you are away in the wake of all that's happening.
Yes.
What would be your first reaction? What would be the first thing that you want to do?
Well, you know, that's funny that you asked, because I was having a conversation just recently. Some family friends, along with my wife, were planning our annual trip, and we had plans to be very far in Brazil this year.
Oh,
And I
wow.
said to them, could you imagine if we were stuck outside of
Away, yeah.
outside of the territory at this crucial time? I'd be having a fit. Just be honest.
Exactly. For me, the first thing I would want to do, especially if I'm a student,
Yes.
is to come home. Home is home. And, you know, at the end of the day, this is exactly the reality for some persons,
Yes.
and especially students. Home in these times are considered a safe haven around friends and family and away from the coronavirus. So that's totally understandable. But the only concern is these persons may be the connection between the BVI and the outside world. So
Very true.
it's rightful when the government of the Virgin Islands are asking persons who have recently traveled to and from Asia, the United Kingdom, the United States, Europe, and other Caribbean countries to please self-quarantine for 14 days. Before, you know, as things were just developing, that list of countries that you were traveling from was really small. You know, it was just Japan or China. Now, if you're coming from anywhere outside of the BVI, the government is asking you to self-quarantine, rightfully so. And the government went a step further and is asking persons who may know of these persons who have traveled recently to any of these areas and are not complying with the quarantine guidelines to please report them to the Public Health Division. Now, Ron, these precautionary measures is necessary, in my opinion, to ensure the safety of persons in the BVI. Persons may not see the importance of these measures, but persons should remember, if we really look at it, the coronavirus has an incubation period of 14 days. One might be infected with the virus and would not know along this period of time. So this person could go on and affect other persons, could be feeling completely okay, and could go on to infect many, many persons. So I think what the government is asking is not a tall order at all. But my question would be, are there any implications? Because if you're asking persons to report persons who are not compliant, then what are the implications if these persons are actually caught breaking these rules?
You haven't made that clear as yet.
Most definitely.
Indeed. But I definitely agree with them, and I see where they're requesting help from the larger populace in regards to keeping law and order. And at the end of the day, it is going to take a community effort for us to all keep this, you know, in safe proximity.
I do agree, and also I think in many cases the BVI public is very hush-hush.
Very nonchalant,
but
I'll
I
be
think
honest.
in this time and age, when it comes to the coronavirus, not much persons are playing around with it.
Well,
so I think we will be seeing some reports if these persons are non-compliant.
Good stuff. On to another key announcement coming out of the recently held live social media interview with Governor of the Virgin Islands and Deputy Police Commissioner was the announcement of jury trials temporarily being halted in the Virgin Islands. Governor Jasper said, and I quote, "Because you have a large number of persons on the jury, halting jury trials is just to reduce the risk of many people gathering in one place. They, the courts, are going to keep going as much as they can, but we also have to protect ourselves, reduce the risk of transmission, and have our social distancing measures in place. In addition to delaying all jury trials, Governor Jasper said Cabinet is also limiting the number of persons who enter the courtroom. He said, and I quote, "There will be things set up to ensure that there will be a communication which was given already. They're like the video links between the prison and the court so that cases can be heard without necessarily gathering inside the court." Now, Kyla, on this very vital subject matter of police bail, Deputy Police Commissioner Alwyn James said the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is playing its part in providing more bail offers to accused offenders. He said, and I quote, "The police force will be utilizing that where it is necessary, that there are also arrangements with the court and the DPP for the appearance of persons who are charged for offenses we consider to be urgent and should appear before the court." Deputy Police Chief did admit that he believes the court and the current COVID-19 is going to cause a backlog of criminal matters. He said, and I quote, "Persons are going to be delayed in terms of having their matters heard, but those are the sort of things that we consider that would affect the operations." Now, while such measures are in place to safeguard all Virgin Islanders, many have been pondering the severe impact that jury trials being delayed will have on the judicial system. Some of the concerns are, how will the cases be monitored to avoid a backlog? If a backlog is created, what measures are in place to curb this from happening? Are we not still dealing with an excess amount of cases as a result of the hurricanes of 2017? How should persons who have matters in the court handle such delays? Kyla, these are really good questions from the general populace who are concerned and likewise who have business and matters in the court at this time. But one of the things that I think comes out of this is, to be honest, now we're seeing a lot of measures implemented in wake of the COVID-19, but I want the general public to, as the young people, as our peers would say, stay woke. Because what this says really and truly is that a number of these measures could have been in place prior to All right, and I think that we get a little lax sometimes in our territory, where only things, when things become an
Happen?
emergency, we
Right.
feel the need to. But from time to time, a lot of these measures locally, when it comes to law and order, should be implemented to kind of curb not only the backlog of cases, but in the final analysis, make sure that business is being conducted in the fastest and most potent way.
I do agree. You spoke about the amount of backlog
Yes.
cases
Since 2017.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's some cases in the court up to 3 to 4 years old,
Yes.
and that's really concerning. Of course, we do understand why they might be taking this measure in the wake of all that's happening.
Correct.
But it is necessary to get back on track as soon as possible.
And can you also imagine the how disheartening it could be for not only inmates or persons who are awaiting trial,
And
but,
families.
yeah, and families, but businesses who are having matters in the court, who the matters have been prolonged for such a long time, and now again we see where those matters will continue to be prolonged. So it's a game of patience, absolutely, but we continue to employ all our residents to be strong and be patient in this time. Now we'll look at Puerto Rico amidst the coronavirus outbreak and what we here in the Virgin Islands can learn from how they are handling this pandemic. This and more when 284 News returns.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Brilliant Hands and Minds tutoring services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Thank you for sticking with us.
Indeed.
But as we move on, now in the neighboring island of Puerto Rico, like the rest of the world, the island is fighting against the spread of the coronavirus. As of current time, Puerto Rico has 31 cases of the coronavirus.
Wow.
Now, Ron, we have seen an increase in cases throughout the Caribbean, leaving just 3 islands, if I'm correct,
Yes.
Unaffected by this virus. Now, if we use Puerto Rico as just an example of how an island can be affected by the spread of this virus, experts show concern that Puerto Rico's already fragile healthcare system and access to resources and healthcare services was an issue well before the coronavirus. So basically, the question is, if we are taking this example here in the BVI, are we able, and is our healthcare system able to sustain an outbreak if we actually had to experience one?
Well, Kyla, I'll tell you this before you continue. I don't think any healthcare system across the world, much less the region, is equipped for the level of strain that COVID-19 would place on any society.
Most definitely.
I don't think any one of us would be prepared for
Because
that.
at this time, you have to look at the number of physicians that we have access to, the number of respirators. Also, do we have enough rooms and resources here on island to actually, in the wake of such a disaster? And really and truly, what's the plan in the case of the worst case scenario?
Indeed.
I know it's definitely scary to think about it, but the relevant authorities have to think about these things before we get there. Experts are saying the risk associated with such a pandemic will be higher on an island as expected because there is no way to rush to a nearby state or island or hospital if resources are depleted, and or actually neighboring islands in the Caribbean are also
Yeah, so we can't ask for help.
Most definitely. But if we do remember, just a few weeks ago, the government actually wrote to the UK government for assistance. So at least this is one thing that we have an advantage as a UK dependent territory. So Ron, because of the seriousness of the pandemic and the lack of resources Puerto Rico have access to, we have seen the island take drastic action from very early. Governor Vasquez have imposed many restrictions in effort to combat the spread of the virus. We know about the curfew that was implemented the 15th that goes down straight to the 30th of March. There was a partial lockdown of businesses, lockdowns of schools, banning of cruise ships, and the cancellation of domestic and international flights. All of these things, Ron, sound very familiar to us because we ourselves in the BVI, even though we did it after, we have done all these things. But are we really taking serious action? And are we, as a territory, not necessarily the government, because the government is doing all that they can, but as the people and the community, are we taking serious action? And are we being serious about what this could possibly mean to the BVI?
I think those questions are warranted, and to be honest with you, based on a lot of the social media content and energy that we've been seeing, it would appear that some Virgin Islanders are not particularly taking the matter to heart and not taking the whole issue of social distancing very serious. But I do want to employ our residents, both locally, to really take this seriously. Like you said, a lot of the measures that have been put in place, when we look at places like Puerto Rico, look at places like St. Thomas, we don't...
And they're right next to us. These are our neighbors.
And we don't want to have a situation where we have to wait until something like that happens. So we want to encourage persons to really and truly abide by the laws that are being enforced, and not because the laws presently state that businesses can be open up until 8 means that you have to take advantage and be in those places.
But also to prolong hours. That's a whole different story and a whole different day.
Indeed. So I really appreciate your story, and I think that we should be looking at other countries that are nearby and seeing how they are proactively handling
this
the
situation.
matter. Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Yes, and now on to a very another serious issue that we've been faced with again, Kyla. The Cyber Crimes Act has been passed, but we still see where people locally, particularly the younger persons, are finding themselves in peculiar situations where certain content is being shared via social media. What are your thoughts?
At the end of the day, Ron, it's really very disheartening to see it, and I think more so the younger generations don't understand the seriousness of this and cyberbullying. We see everything as a joke, but really and truly it's not. It's someone's lives and someone's livelihood. And it's really disheartening for me. So if I had to speak to the younger generation and just persons in general, we live on a very small island, and I think we have to be a bit more serious
and cognizant.
Yes, I'm really glad to see that the cyberbullying Act have been passed, and hopefully this can curb. But for right now, we're seeing a whole lot of this in our community.
Absolutely, and I want to also, on that note, encourage individuals, both males and females, to not give persons the opportunity, to not give persons the incentive, because when you think of it, and it pertains to sharing social media content, particularly with minors, the content comes from somewhere. Exactly. So at the end of the day, we want to encourage persons to take precautionary measures. Just like you said, we're in a small territory, so understand that news, whether positive or negative, is going to travel quite fast, and at the end of the day, not only is your personal and professional lives at risk, but at the end of the day, we still see where persons can be incriminated for such content, especially the sharing of content. It's specific in the Cyber Crimes Act where you should not, and you are not allowed, based on the laws within that act, to be sharing such content. So we want to employ our young people to be vigilant and very cautious of their activity via the internet and social media.
Most definitely, Ron. So viewers, that's it for today's News Roundup. Be sure to like us on Facebook at 284 Media and 284 BVI on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, if you haven't as yet, make sure you log on to our website at www.284media.com. 284media.com. I am kind of like Kenesha Forbes.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news, right here on 284 Media. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. 284 Media proudly presents its newest talk show, The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, with yours truly, Ron Grant. A show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Don't worry, it's not all about suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, a 284 Media production.